Hi there, Kyle Hency here, co-founder and CEO of GoodDay Software. We're realizing coming out of that last webinar that I totally forgot to hit record. So I did want to give you a quick intro for our amazing guests. For this webinar, we have Emily Brauer Gill. She's the Chief Revenue Officer of Margaux, one of our great customers who's growing really rapidly. Don't miss this. She's like a really great operator. And then also Stephen Feczko. He's the head of operations for Lola blankets. Again, a really rapidly growing brand. We talked all about how to prep for the holiday season, how GoodDay has evolved, how they're doing that. And in general, they were just sharing really great tidbits for you as you go into your holiday season. Thanks. Enjoy.
Google Sheets to make sure the agents knew what was happening and what was on, what was off, what was coming back and what wasn't going to be coming back as we got closer to shipping cutoffs. And so that was, I would say, we probably honestly half the company last year was in some way managing that across all these different teams and constituents. Generally, it went pretty well. We ended up receiving 18 or 19 containers between December 1st and December 5th that the warehouses did God's work to turn them all around, get all the back orders processed, and everything was out by the shipping cutoffs. But I mean, we were cutting it down to days, and we certainly had our fair share of missteps, and we had to email more customers than we would like of, hey, sorry, this unit doesn't exist in our warehouse. You can wait till January or we'll offer an apology. So we had a few of those for sure, more than I'd like to admit, but 95% accuracy was pretty good for a manual process like that, Kyle. And as you're
Totally.
saying,
Totally.
everyone's got to just be checking and rechecking and double checking, and it still only gets to 95% good.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think I always encourage operators to give themselves a bit of leeway, where it's like, man, if you executed that well with manual processes like that, that's pretty darn good. Now let's look at the next year and let's try to tidy that up and do even better, and be more, thoughtful operationally. So let's kind of take this. So let's talk about GoodDay a little bit. We're pulling some of the threads out. Definitely pre-sales is a big topic for both of your businesses, so we should definitely hit on that. But how has working in GoodDay actually evolved how you're thinking about the holiday? Is it making you more proactive versus reactive? Is it allowing you to do things you couldn't do before? How are you thinking about it? Maybe Emily, if you could start.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we're doing kind of like a few different things with GoodDay right now, and just getting to the point where we're kind of like standing it up as our single source of truth for inventory. So there's like one big focus right now, which is not really has nothing to do with holiday, but which is just enabling it to be our like integration with QuickBooks. And so we're going to fully move away from Excel-based cost recording at the product level. And the big thing we're doing right now, which was an intro from your team and which I was so impressed with, is just a new kind of like customs broker, but that's really enabled by technology. So we'll be working with Importal, which was a recommendation from you guys, and they seem incredible and will just be a huge solve to a bunch of our problems on the COGS side. And so that's like not holiday specific, but because it's our biggest time of year, to kind of like sprinting towards being able to recognize everything correctly is huge. So that's one thing. The bigger thing that is directly related to holiday, and frankly, the reason why we kind of like found you guys and started working in the first place, like that first big use case was, oh yeah, there's a question more about Importal. Yes, I know. It's such a hot topic. Kyle, do you want to go into it now or later?
Yeah, no. Go ahead and jump into it. How are you guys looking at Importal?
Well,
Why
we
is it
literally had our meeting
valuable?
yesterday, and I told him it was the best SaaS demo that I've ever had. I can't even call it a demo. It's just like they're gonna take over and
Nice.
change our life. So again, I don't know about kind of like how much detail people have here, but obviously tariffs and duties are like a big topic of conversation right now. And for footwear specifically, I don't know as much for other areas. Using the correct HTS code is really important. And right now we have just been kind of taking in the form from our factory, and we haven't been overlaying any like, is this actually the right HTS code, or is this like more of a leather upper, or does it have a rubber sole? Like, so there's factors within there of just doing a one-time overhaul of our entire product catalog to make sure we are literally using the right code. But the more important thing is then, and again, this is the whole idea, is to move away from spreadsheets and to have everything centralized within Shopify and then feeding directly into QuickBooks. where once we do that classification, then I don't think this integration is quite done. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, Kyle, and hopefully that's gonna happen
Oh, no, it's
soon.
great. Yeah, of course.
Of then having importal basically like import the HTS code, attach it to the master SKU, and then automatically pull in for that product the day and time it was received, what the correct duties and tariffs rate is. So that like right now we have our product costs in GoodDay. We're close to having freight at the product level, and then this will be the final piece of duties and tariff to have a full landed COGS. So we actually, this was a great example of me being like, this is an issue. What do we do? This seems like there should be a solution. And I like used ChatGPT to see what the options were. And then we went to Kyle and the team, this has been like a huge kind of under the radar benefit of GoodDay because you guys have so much exposure to businesses at similar stages. And I'm like, I need a solution for X. What is everyone else using? And then specifically, are you going to integrate it? And so we haven't started the integration yet, but we're going to. And so I don't know if you
Yeah.
have more
Yeah,
questions on
no.
that, but that's kind of where
No,
we
I
are.
think that, yeah. So I think I just want to pull out a thread, which is this is a really good way to think about if you're operating in spreadsheets, this is going to be an insanely manual process, even if you have access to Importal's data. Via the integration we're working on with Importal, right? That data will just live in your system. And as you want to update, if you have one PO or 1,000 POs, as you want to update it, it's just going to happen automatically. If the tariff rates change, you can select all of your POs and change them. And you updating your margins for the new data, which seems to be coming out often, um, your margins can be updated in like 10 minutes as opposed to like a week of manual work. And so I do think this is like a really easy way to see like, yeah, it's worth doing a bunch of work to get into a centralized system. So when these variables change, you're the first person to change with it, right? Okay. New data came in. Our margins aren't 66%, they're 64% now. Let's look at our marketing plan. Do we want to carve back our CPAs a little bit? How do we want to think about the rest of the stack if we're going to, we have 2 points now going to tariffs that we weren't expecting, right? So I'll connect you guys, and I think Maddie is the person who's asking. So I'll make
Yeah,
sure you guys are connected.
happy to, especially once we have done it, because we're going
Yeah,
to.
exciting.
But I think the second piece, which again is what initially brought us to GoodDay, was the pre-order capability. And so our business functions a lot on pre-order intentionally. We try to keep our lead times as short as possible. We try to chase as much as we can and be responsive to customer trend. And we do it to minimize waste in the supply chain, to decrease our stale inventory, to not have stale inventory in the first place. The company was already doing this before I joined, but this was really hammered into me at Reformation. It is so core to Reformation's business from a sustainability perspective, both of materials, product, and then also financial. And so at Margaux, we are leaning in as much as possible into correct forecasting, but an element of that always is pre-order, and also making sure that we're kind of like giving the product to the customer as early as possible for something that's super seasonal, like boots. Like you may only buy one knee-high pair of boots a season, and so we want to make sure that you're considering ours on pre-order. And so it's better to have it than not. But as Kyle and his team have learned, our business is a bit idiosyncratic in that we place lots of POs all the time, and the POs have lots of different products on them. So we had a very complicated, very like clunky way for our website to reference and basically do an infinite check on every PO that we have ever placed going forward to see what pre-order timing we could promise. We also have insane SKU complexity because we offer a hugely wide range of sizes and in all three widths. So we have a lot of complications to our business from a pre-order perspective. And we are like almost there. We're in the final stages of front-end testing to actually be fully referencing the GoodDay pre-order sales solution, to be able to have that be with the pre-order source of truth for us and for customers. So the customers won't notice anything different, but it's a huge upgrade for us. I mean, maybe they'll notice the site speed increase. So exciting about that.
Awesome. And Steven, how about you?
On pre-sale specifically?
Or just in general, making the move to GoodDay, how has it evolved the way that you're thinking about holiday prep, actually operating in now that you're starting to get close to season?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the control that we now have internally versus relying on our warehouse, and we have great warehouse partners, but just like a few examples of the things that Good Day specifically has enabled for us. One is channel reserves. So we do like sales with Good Morning America on TV, and there's a very specific flow and process that we have to do for that. Ring fence inventory, set it aside. Prior, it was manual emails, then relying on them to fat finger a production pool of inventory, pull it off the shelf, put it aside, make sure it's marked with a substitute SKU so it doesn't accidentally get sold or fulfilled or whatever. And now it's as simple as a few clicks where we can just say, hey, we want to set aside these X thousand units for a sale that's upcoming. We'll quarantine them now. And then once the sales are completed, we can release them back into the pool. So like that has saved a ton of confusion, manual processes, and quite frankly, errors. We did have a couple errors on that before with those sales specifically. I echo Emily on the pre-sales piece. We are also on the 1 yard line. Now that we've installed a middleware, that your team has been great about helping us accommodate, but we still need to cross the final hurdle there. But before the middleware, it was working perfectly, and we did successfully have a few items on pre-sales with y'all, and the middleware that we need for our peak season that our warehouse needs has caused a few hiccups there, but generally being able to just, rely on a few clicks and say, hey, this is going to be automatically pre-sold. Here's the promise to the customer on the front end, knowing that those will get automatically released to the warehouse on the back end when the inventory arrives is huge. So I would just say like, the punchline is control and like taking things in-house, and we're a lean team. So it's not always good to put more things on our team, but I actually trust our team a lot more than third parties and warehouse workers and everything else. And so we made that a priority.
Yeah, I want to I'll just touch on pre-sales just because when we're operating in this like very dynamic world around supply chain and you're having to kind of quickly manipulate and move inventory around, one of the really cool outputs of being able to sell things that aren't yet in your warehouse is you get a little bit more inventory flexibility, right? And historically in the Shopify ecosystem, for a bunch of obvious reasons, Shopify has made it pretty hard to pre-sell. In aggregate with 6 million stores, if Shopify just made it incredibly easy to sell things that you do not have, you would have like a giant fraud machine. Now, you all have really special brands and you have a lot to lose if you don't take care of these consumers. And so in the construct of Good Day, making this seamless and automated for you guys makes a ton of sense, where it I think makes frankly less sense for Shopify itself. The thing that we've been really focused on, and this is totally tailing off of us kind of experiencing what Steve was just talking about at Chubbies, was like, we did a lot of this and we did it manually. And it was horrible. And we pissed off a lot of customers. Now we hustled to take care of them once we realized that, but we just made errors for sure. Like in errors in the lead up to the holiday is like, man, it is fairly recoverable, right? And so when we were developing this product, which we've been building for 6+ months, it's a really cool piece of technology. We were really focused on automation for the operators inside of the company. So everything from like selecting the SKUs, from leveraging data, which is what are the future POs that are coming in, doing calcs in the background so that you're not manually adding in exactly what number of pre-sales you want. That's just like a known manual activity that's really hard to keep up with. We systematize that whole kind of idea. Talking to the product pages and the cart functionality, Shopify selling plans on Shopify via meta fields on Shopify as a core piece of the technology so that your team can leverage the data that's flowing through Good Day and not have to be manually on every SKU's product page, adding different dates and different promises, et cetera. So effectively what we've done here is we took this previously manual process and systematized the whole thing. So now you have a business model you're running, which is pre-sales on Good Day, and you manage the variables of the business model as opposed to entering a lot of manual data over and over again, putting fake data in over here to make sure that this doesn't happen over there. There's a whole like set of manual things you end up doing if you leave these gaps in the operating processes. And so, the output that we were hoping for is actually beginning to happen, which is cool, which is relatively large brands, you guys included, are starting to do more of this. and they're doing more of it because it's better for their consumers, right? Like this is getting you access and allowing you to call dibs on these things going into the holidays, and then we're reliably getting them there before the holidays, right? So really, really cool experience. And I think particularly valuable in this moment where the supply chain is just moving underneath you every day, right? So we're seeing a lot of uptick and frankly higher utilization of this product than we even expected. So been very cool. Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's
we'll
also
try to
there's no other
yeah,
real
go ahead.
alternative that,
Totally.
that I'm aware of on the market besides manual. So it's
Yeah. Um, and we haven't even gotten to the sexy part of the whole conversation, which is it's also attached to your accounting because pre-sales create a total accounting nightmare. So I think connecting that whole value chain is why we're so excited about that product, right? It's like a really easy place to see why if you fix it operationally, you get a lot more visibility and clarity and accuracy in the accounting stack as well. So let's shift gears. Let's spend 5 more minutes. You guys are both legendary operators, have worked at very, very cool brands in your past. Are there, as you just think about this whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotional period, are there any like kind of just like notable things or that you believe or have taken away? And again, doesn't need to be Margaux and Lola, but just like super curious if there's anything that might be helpful to the audience.
I mean, from a business standpoint, I think at Lola, at least one of the recent conversations and one of the conversations that came out of last year was the willingness to, and Emily was sort of alluding to this around like the conversion cycle is so much different this time of year, but the ability and willingness to flex and adapt and take advantage of the low CACs and the people that are already primed to buy for every person in their life this time of year. Um, I think all plans are good until you start executing them, and then things go out the window, whether it's good or bad, whether it's a marketing surprise or an operational surprise or whatever. And so our number one lesson, at the great businesses I've been at, like the weekends of the biggest sales and the days of the biggest sales are 3+ times daily check-in to say, hey, what's happening on this channel with this spend? Where's inventory sit? Where are we seeing more action? Where are we seeing less? And just that, like, it is the Super Bowl, and it's honestly, at least for businesses like I imagine are a bunch of folks on here that are healthy and growing and doing well, there's an opportunity to lean into this, consumer predisposition, ready, willingness to spend. And so flexing, whether that's unexpected pre-sales, whether that's unexpectedly doubling the marketing budget for the day because something's working, whatever that is, like quick decision making, doing it live, literally by the hour during these biggest periods is what I've seen great brands able to do to just fully capitalize on these special moments.
Anything sticking out on your side, Emily? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. I'll underline one thing Steven said, and then I'll add on one additional, which is slightly more macro, which is that I think that this concept of, so it's Thanksgiving week, right? It's like the most important time to also be spending with your family. And it is the challenge, I would say, of someone who's in this business. And kind of like I had an acting coach tell me when I was in elementary school, like, if you can see yourself doing anything else from a career, don't be an actor. And so I decided not to be an actor, but like the only place that I'm happy is retail. But so I think like the way, just tactically, like recommendations that I would make is have a 30-minute stand up on the calendar for as many operators across the business as you need in the morning, every morning of Thanksgiving week. Have it on the calendar. No video required. Everyone can be in their PJs. I have screaming kids in the background, and just run through. And if nothing's going wrong or you don't need to pull any levers, it can be 5 minutes and you're done. But have like the 5 KPIs that you're checking in on. Make sure site speed is fine. Make sure conversion is good. Check stock level, whatever those things that matter for your business, and just do a quick yes, yes, yes. I always have my head of CX on that call to make sure nothing is coming in from a customer perspective. And just like, so that you're not creating kind of unnecessary fire drills where you don't have to, but you have that structured time to manage the Super Bowl. Parent Super Bowl is Halloween, retail Super Bowl is Black Friday. And then, so that's just like a really tactical piece of advice that I have found to be helpful. And it reminds me that I need to make sure I get those scheduled. But then like a way pullback, for me, and so this is kind of maybe not what you were asking, Kyle, but just as I think about operating and what I think is key to operating a brand and being successful is I am super anti-discounting. And so that's just my take, but also for anyone, if that's helpful, it was really hammered into me at Reformation. And Margaux did not do very much before I started, but did a little bit more than we do now. And I just think it's unbelievably important to not use discounts to drive sales at other times of the year. And if that's what you're having to do, look at your pricing strategy, look at your brand strategy, look at your customer fit. And then that sets you up for when you're doing a once a year site-wide discount to like really be able to drive that conversion and focus. So that's an operating principle for me is you need a good enough brand and a good enough product and good enough customer fit that promotions are not part of your ongoing strategy.
Yeah. I think my like observation that's like a little bit adjacent to that from Chubbies days was it's such a unique moment of time where people just are shopping. So if you do not participate, right? I don't think you have to do discounts. I don't think you have to do a specific promotion that everyone else in your specific product category does, etc. I think taking that time, sometimes I talk to brand founders like, we don't deal with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I'm like, man, that is not right. Like you have to engage with this moment. It's a little bit
100%.
like it's a little bit like the moment that is like or like the argument that's like, hey, you need to have your brand showing up where your consumers are, right? In this moment, they're shopping. That might be the most entertaining thing they're doing for 4 straight days.
Yeah.
Is just shopping. And so if you've decided for whatever reason you're just not going to engage during that, feels very silly to me looking back. We absolutely had those kind of thoughts and tendencies, kind of born out of the same idea. I think we like accidentally took that, oh, we shouldn't be discounting to be like, we're a spring brand. Why are we even talking about this? It's like, well, we're a brand, we're a retail brand, and people are shopping. And so I do think it's like, don't lose the forest for the trees in the process of trying to protect your brand. Like, this is the time you should engage for sure.
We found the same true on Prime days too. Amazon is such a behemoth that
Yeah.
the willingness of people to spend on those random days that Amazon dictates
Yeah.
has been directly commensurate with our success as well during those days and weeks, and just not matching their offer of free shipping, whatever they do during those days, but having an event and messaging around buy now, they're big enough to drive the consumers as a whole.
And I think that's such an important distinction. And just to underline my point is I was not suggesting to not participate in Black Friday. I think it actually increases I was thinking promotions on other times of the year, but I think that's such a like interesting learning, Stephen, because for us, obviously, like Amazon doesn't impact our spending in the same way. But it's like if consumers are all coming to one place for a specific reason, like you do have to show up as a brand. So my commentary on promotions was more kind of like macro, not related to Black Friday. I definitely think you should participate in a single site-wide sale on Black Friday.
Absolutely. Our angle was like, can we do something kind of wild and fun? And that's very Chubbies, right? Like, what is the wildest promotion we can cook up? All right, we got one that came in. Can you share more on the technical setup for this year's Black Friday? There you go.
It was not a Shopify native feature. We onboarded and are working with a great dev agency, which I'm happy to intro you to. They're called Presidio Development, Presidio Dev. And we briefed it into them probably like 2 months ago, and they just built it for us. And it was not, out of all of the technical things we've done, it was not a crazy enormous lift. So I don't know exactly how they did it, but it was not too hard. The biggest thing for us was actually just making sure the visual treatment of it was the best it could be, because it's so important, like how it shows up on CDPs, how it shows up on the PDP, like how do you show 20% off? What is the dollar amount you show it off applied at checkout? Like all of those things. It was just making sure like we would really be able to hit conversion. So happy to intro you if that would be helpful. But it was custom code.
Cool. Yeah. There we go. Any other questions?
I'm so glad that was helpful. I was like, is that going to be helpful?
Yeah, no, you know what? Like, I think it's really like these are the real operators. So I actually think that stuff is like even more valuable personally. Like these sort of like tactical things
Yeah.
are super interesting. So going to ask the same, super helpful. I'll give folks another 1 minute. No more questions. Then we're gonna let Emily and Steven get back to their busy holiday prep. Steven, if you want to tell us a quick story about the blanket wars, I'm super curious. Can you give us any more context on this?
Yeah. There's another blanket brand, as well as some other just faux fur businesses that all have started in Utah. Utah, for those of
Oh,
you who
wow.
are familiar or not, is a very unique consumer culture, business and brand wise. And yeah, we basically sort of are the new kid on the block, if you will. And so we put up billboards down the main highway that runs north south in Salt Lake. And now there's just exchanging sort of chirpy, no name,
Oh,
no, there's no
interesting.
names being dropped. Everyone knows, like, every cycle
Wow.
of a few months or a few weeks, there's new billboards with new imagery jabbing at what the other one is doing.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and you drive down I-15, it's just like us and Cozy Earth and other Utah faux fur brands that
Oh, amazing. I love the world we live in. It's so
friendly
wild.
competition where, yeah, I've never seen a faux fur billboard anywhere before joining here, and you go to Utah and
You'll
there
have to send a picture.
All
yeah,
right.
there literally are pictures. Also been like some, I don't know what reputable, but there's been like a few like LinkedIn or whatever, like
Oh, how funny.
influencers posting about this. And I think the reference is also the cookie wars. It was like Crumble and someone else was also Utah, and it was, yeah, the
It's
Utah
amazing.
consumer culture is funny.
All right.
We
Well,
could have a whole additional conversation about billboards and out of home, Kyle, because I feel like I have
oh,
for Steven.
oh man.
Very interesting.
That's a whole nother can of worms. So I want to say thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, Steven. Everybody who's in here, get on these guys' sites. They have big numbers they got to hit. I know I'm going to be this holiday. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.